Welcome back everyone. We get to finally talk about a Samsung Galaxy S22 and compare it against one of the last Note lineup of devices, which was actually the Samsung Galaxy Note 20. Now in my opinion, the Note 20 was a tremendous phone. I think it was great at the time. I will tell you, since this is a little bit dated, the Samsung Galaxy S22 is probably the better way to go for a lot of people out there, but the Note 20 is still a tremendous phone. It still holds up very well, and it does have some features here and there that the Galaxy S22 does not have. If you want to pick up either one of these phones, links will be down in the description. You can get them from there and help support the channel at the same time. Now on the front, there are some key differences between them. The Samsung Galaxy Note 20 comes in a little bit more of a rectangular shape. You have a 6.7-inch Super AMOLED display, it's 1080p, and it's a very good panel. Samsung did a great job with the specific phone, and I still think as of now, it holds up extremely well. Is it perfect? No, you don't have, things like that, 1440p panel or anything. You also don't have 120 Hz on this panel either, which is a pretty big downside in my opinion. The Note 20 Ultra had those things, but this one on the other hand did not, which is very sad. The S22 on the other hand has a smaller 6.1-inch dynamic AMOLED display. It's 1080p as well, and it does have 120 Hz. Now, some of you may not like this or not, what I'm about to say, but 120 Hz makes a really big difference. It makes things perform so much smoother, and with a device like One UI, software-wise, sometimes it can be a little clunky and be a little bit weird here and there, but 120 Hz helps smoothen things out, and the Note 20 doesn't have it, but the S22 does have it, so that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind, in my opinion. They both have USB Type-C ports on the bottom, hole punch displays, everything like that. The Note 20 does have the S Pen though, which is really awesome. We have that capability of, clicking in that S Pen if we want to, using it as a stylus and moving on. The S22 on the other hand doesn't have it, but it's totally expected. It's really not that big of a deal. On the back, we have a plastic back on the Note 20, frosted, so it still feels a little bit premium. The S22 on the other hand has a full glass back, frosted as well. So it definitely feels a little bit better on the S22 side. It feels much more premium, and that's a big thing to keep in mind. They both have triple camera setups on the back as well. And overall, I like the design of the back of the S22 more than the front of the back of the Note 20, but I like how the front of the Note 20 looks. If the Note 20 had a 120 Hz display, that would have been perfect. But the S22 I think looks better on the front, and that's probably the phone I would much rather have in terms of design. The Note 20 is a bigger phone though, so some people may prefer that as well. Now flipping them over to the back on the camera side, the Note 20 has a triple camera setup, a 12 megapixel wide angle lens, 64 megapixel telephoto lens, then a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor, where the Samsung Galaxy S22 has a 50 megapixel wide angle lens, 10 megapixel telephoto lens, then a 12 megapixel ultra wide sensor. Now like I mentioned many times, both these phones do a great job at really whatever you're going to be doing them with. They're going to give you great performances without a doubt. They both have the ability of shooting 8K videos on the back, which is amazing. And as I mentioned, that's a really cool thing, having that capability of quickly just, shooting 8K videos if you want to for some reason. You have that capability on these phones, which is awesome. You also have kind of the same megapixel count for the front, 10 megapixel sensors, 4K at 60 on the front as well. So there's not really that crazy big of a difference when it comes down to the front or the back of both these. They kind of have the same setup. Now with the Note 20 it being a little bit older, you're getting a little bit of an older sensor. I don't think they're as great as the S22s, but if you don't really mind the cameras, or if you don't really care, then it's really not going to be that big of a deal, if I'm being completely honest. You may find sometimes that the Note 20 is a little bit better here and there. You may see that the S22 is better here and there, but time after time, in my opinion, the S22 is going to be the better camera. It's the newer sensors, has a newer chipset inside of it. It's just a better camera overall. I think once we start getting like 8K at 30 and 8K at 60, that's when we're going to start seeing some bigger differences. But the S22 Ultra already has some really big differences too, without having to go to 8K at 60 or anything. So I think it's totally expected. I think next iteration we're going to be seeing some pretty big differences, but these cameras are still great on both, and I'll definitely tell you the S22 is better, but the Note 20 is still perfectly fine in my opinion. Now one of the bigger differences between these two phones, and probably the biggest differences for a lot of people, is the software. They're both on One UI, they both have One UI 4, I think they're both compatible with it, but the Note 20 isn't going to be lasting as long as the S22 by actually quite a bit. Samsung has just increased the software experience again to 4 years of full OS updates and 5 years of security updates. Now what does that mean? Well, essentially we could see the Galaxy S22 lasting for up to 5 years, maybe even longer than that. The Note 20 is probably, it did get an extra year of software support too and an extra year of security updates that Samsung offered, but it's not going to be lasting as long as the Galaxy S22. And without a doubt, one of the biggest reasons I would go from a Note 20 to an S22 is for the software. If you want a phone that's going to be lasting you a longer amount of time, the Galaxy S22 is the better way to go. Is it perfect? No, I would like stock Android, but One UI has a lot of capability, and when it comes down to that is one of the biggest things to keep in mind. Although you're still getting some extra software features on the Note 20, things like the S Pen capability and different things like that, you are getting a longer lasting phone on the S22, and that's a pretty big thing to keep in mind as well. So, in terms of the software experience, that pretty much covers it up there. In terms of the performance side of things, the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 865 chipset inside of it, and there was only one model of this phone with 8GB of RAM, where the Samsung Galaxy S22 has that Qualcomm Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chipset inside of it with 8GB of RAM on the same models as well. Now this is what I'll tell you about the performance. The Samsung Galaxy Note 20's performance was very, very good. I've mentioned for so many years now since this phone came out in 2020 that the performance of this phone was really good. I was surprised to see that, even with the Note 20 Ultra for it being a little bit faster, I was like, how much faster can these phones get? And Samsung just keeps doing a really good job at the performance side of things with these devices, which is always so good to see. On something like the Samsung Galaxy Note 20, I love having the capability of quickly, unlocking that S Pen if I need to, and pretty much using the phone that way too. But with something like the Samsung Galaxy S22, with that additional 120Hz display, not only is it a faster phone, but it makes things feel so much faster compared to phones that don't have 120Hz displays. So those are really big things to keep in mind. I think when it comes down to the S22, it's definitely the faster phone, it's definitely the smoother phone, everything like that. But the Note 20 is still a very, very fast phone too. I've done so many gaming videos on this phone, I've done so many things on both these phones, and I've had a really good time on both of them. I don't think the S22 is perfect, and I do think there are some cases where the older phones are faster than this one, but I think the 120Hz lends itself to making it seem a lot faster than other phones, and I definitely do think when it comes down to both of these, the S22 is probably the faster one, but the Note 20 is still a very, very fast phone as well. Now, ending it off with the battery life, this is probably another big difference. The Note 20 has a 4300 mAh battery, the Galaxy S22 has a 3700 mAh battery. So this is another thing that I mentioned again. I mean, I hate to say it, but milliamp hours are some of the biggest factors when looking at phones, with the battery life and the battery health department. And in my opinion, I hate having a smaller battery than the predecessor, and even though the Note 20's battery life is not as good as the Note 20 Ultra's in my opinion, you're still getting a better battery life on something like the Note 20 than on the Samsung Galaxy S22. Now, because this phone is approaching 2 years old, battery degradation plays a key in all this other stuff, but I definitely do prefer something like the Samsung Galaxy Note 20's battery size over the Samsung Galaxy S22's battery size in my opinion. So that covers it up there, and to be completely honest, when it comes down to both of these, they are both very, very good phones. The Samsung Galaxy S22 though is probably the phone I would recommend more people to buy. Although it kind of cuts some corners here and there, it is a better feeling phone than the Galaxy S22. It arguably has a better panel as well. It has very good performance, and it's going to be lasting for a very long amount of time. With the Samsung Galaxy Note 20, I think this is a tremendous phone as well. If it could last as long as the S22, I think this phone would be perfect for a lot of people. You're getting a really good display without the 120Hz, you're getting a really good camera, reverse wireless charging, IP certification, the S Pen, which is awesome, and it's still a very fast phone. I do think something like the Galaxy S22 is the better one. I would recommend more people, but if you have the Galaxy Note 20, I would not go to the S22. If you get a really good deal on the Note 20, I would say go for it. But if you're spending over $500 for the Note 20, I would honestly just wait like a month or two and buy a used S22, because those things are going to go down in price for sure, like they always do. But I do think the Note 20 is a great phone, and you can't really go wrong with either one of these, but I would recommend the S22 when it comes down to it. So in terms of that pretty much covers it up. If you guys have any other questions or anything like that, let me know in the comment section below. Hit the like button, that would mean so much, but definitely hit that subscribe button. More importantly than everything else, I love every single one of you guys. Hopefully I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace out till then.